What's up, everybody? I'm David Van Dyke. This is Polyrhythm Music LLC, and this week's video is going to be a little different. We all know this guy. And what some of you know for sure, but some of you may not, is that this guy has a band called The Cost. And The Cost features Estepario on drums, Chris Attwell on bass, and Peter Connolly lead vocals and guitar. I'm a huge fan of this band, and I think that the songwriting is next level. And most recently, they put out a song called "Her Eyes" with Serge from System of a Down, and it took me back to the golden days of my life of metal. It's a brilliantly written song. They do some really technical things in it, and I reached out because I wanted to talk to Peter and hear his process and how he goes through creating these brilliant songs. And he was gracious enough with his time that he was willing to come on and have a chat. So we spent about an hour a couple weeks ago just kind of talking music and our philosophies on music and, the song. And I'm so thankful to him for doing it. I can't wait to get him back on. I want to get Chris on as well. I would love to hear Chris's perspective, being a bass player, having to link up with what potentially is the greatest drummer in the world. I think that'd be an interesting conversation to have. So I'm going to try to make that happen later. But for now, we're talking about Peter. And Peter is such a nice guy, so gracious, so smart, really puts thought into the way he writes music and what it means to him. So he was in the studio at the time. He took about an hour while the engineer was mixing some stuff down for him. He was literally sitting at the piano, before we got started. He showed me he's sitting at the piano, engineers off to the side working on stuff. So we had a moment to chat. The area he was at, he didn't have great Wi-Fi, and so there are some times in this when the video may freeze or the audio kind of drops out a little bit, and he would lose signal, and then he would come back, and then I would lose signal a little bit. So I'm going to try to make it as seamless as possible and just post the video. I don't want to really get into clipping things up if I don't have to. And from what I've looked at so far, it seems the video's pretty okay, but there may be a couple areas, just to let you know in advance. But it goes for about 45 minutes. I had, about an hour with him. I was afraid of running along with him, so I wanted to cut short, so we kind of end abruptly. But I just wanted to get this out. Peter's such a great songwriter that he deserves some pomp and circumstance for how well he is doing at writing these monstrous songs. They're brilliant, they're metal songs, but they have enough of a pop hook that anybody can grab a hold, and he's brilliant at that, and simplistic. There are times, in Her Eyes, there's a breakdown section in the middle that we talk about where the song breaks kind of into chaos, and then all of a sudden we come out the other side and we're right where we need to be. And they decided to do that, and they're all playing it instead of faking their way through it, which I brought up in this discussion. So I don't really want to say this is an interview, because it's not. It's more of a chat between two buddies that are just talking music. That's the way I looked at it. I'm sure that's the way he looked at it as well. But the Cost are amazing. If you haven't heard of them, go check them out. The song Her Eyes has a fundraiser for Save the Children. Go support that as well. It's a great cause, and it's awesome that they took that song and attached a fundraiser to it. That's the type of guys you're working with here. You're dealing with. The caliber of human beings they are is next level. So here's the entire thing. I hope you dig it. Welcome to Polyrhythm Music LLC. I'm David Van Dyke, and today you know the man in front of me because you've seen his face everywhere. And if you haven't, you've definitely seen his drummer, but we're not talking about him today. That's another day.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the Cost, the lead singer and guitar player, Peter Connolly. Wow.
Hey, everybody. How you guys doing?
I'm going to touch real quick because I don't want to forget this, but we'll kind of circle back to Her Eyes, the song that you put
Sure.
out with Serge. But I just wanted, before I forget, there's a fundraiser attached to that, correctly? Like I believe off of there's a link to a fundraiser.
Yes.
Okay, so I wanted to make sure to say that.
Yeah, correct.
So that everybody that's watching, make sure to go check out that fundraiser as well.
Yeah, all proceeds go to Save the Children organization, which is something that we care quite a lot about at the moment, especially with everything that's going on. So, but yeah,
absolutely.
The link is.
I wanted to make sure I got that in because I didn't want to forget later on. So,
thank you.
Let's do a quick background because, as Peter just told me, he's actually in the studio and we don't want to hold him up from that. So, quick background, comes out of Dublin, correct?
Yes.
You have an educated. Why am I getting calls? What happened there? I'm the idiot here. I should have stopped my
all good, all good.
So you went to college. You actually have a master's in performance and composition, or did you? Is that what it's in?
Actually, yes, I do. I did my undergrad studies in a city called Waterford in Ireland. This was a while back, and I graduated from that college and eventually went on to do a master's degree in Berklee College of Music, actually, where I did a year of just interpretation, performance, mainly focused on get background on the whole academia world of music, but really I grew up self-taught. You know, I just picked up the guitar at home and played what sounded right, you know, for a long time. So yeah, that's more of my background, more than the academic side, which I don't disregard at all, you know, but you know, it's part of it as well, obviously.
Well, sure. I noticed because you have or you at least had, I don't know if it's still present, but you have a jazz ensemble, Valmuse. Am I saying that correctly? Or
that's right. Yeah.
I noticed something in your bio, which was, and it stood out to me, and I'll tell you why. On your bio on the Valmuse page, it states that you have a natural understanding of music, but you didn't use the word talent. And that jumped out to me because I think a lot of us who are, I'm a guitar player. I played drums for 20 years before that. I think a lot of us, knowing that we put a lot of work in, that talent word, it seems to be dismissive almost. And so, what are your views on talent per se?
Okay. I think obviously I'm quite aware of I suppose the phenomenon that is talent, you know, and that everybody possesses to a certain degree. When I'm kind of refer to myself as a musician, I try to always keep in mind that you know it's a never-ending process of learning when it comes to writing and to playing, and you know I try to kind of just, you know, touch base with that as often as possible, to kind of just remind myself that, you know, we can never stop learning, you know. So I feel like I'm just growing all the time, and I'm studying new things every day. There's something new comes up, you know, and and it's just such an amazing trip that you know, yeah, I feel more of a student than anything else, and I always will feel more of a student and than an accomplished or complete, you know, musician. I think it would be pretty maybe self-absorbed of me to think that I'm an accomplished, talented musician. I feel that, you know, talent is a part of it, but I know that there's you know, hard work is definitely involved. You know, they're like putting in the time and you know, pushing through the kind of the more difficult process of you know, growing as a musician as well. So I don't know if that gets anywhere close to your question, but that's
No,
kind of.
I think so, because I have a lot on my channel. I have a lot of viewers that are new to guitar, and a lot of them seem
Right.
to be 40 to 50 years old. And it pains me because I get these comments from time to time that say, well, if you don't, you know, do such and such, if you don't learn how to play guitar this way, you're not a guitar player. And it's like, well, if you're willing to put the talent of the time in and the effort, you're a guitar player. You know, I can't stand this idea of, well, I had it was easy for me to pick that up, that thing, playing that scale, doing whatever, but you're having trouble with it, therefore you're not a musician, a guitar player.
That feels like a very close-minded point of view, in my opinion. At the same time, I would say that whatever piece somebody says that you're not a guitar player unless you play this, then I kind of take advice or that kind of that you know, I'm gonna go learn this piece of music and I'm gonna show you that I can actually play it. You know,
yeah,
that kind of
absolutely.
that's the most. And that was when I was younger. That was the basis of my growing as a musician was the fact that you know, I learned and I heard about things that were like difficult to play in guitar, or that were technical, or that were you know, complicated in general. And I loved taking taking the challenge on and saying, let me see, and maybe I wouldn't complete it you know, 100%, or maybe I wouldn't get the whole thing down, but I would be pleased with, you know, I would be happy with my effort of trying at least, you know. And most of the time, you know, I was determined to go for that piece and, you know, actually nail it, you know. So
I'm glad
but I think it, sorry.
No, I'm glad you said that, because that leads me to another thing that you've done in the past. It's on YouTube if anybody wants to go check it out. You did, it was a master class, I guess, but you did a rendition of Human Nature by Michael Jackson. And it was phenomenal.
Right. Yeah.
It was absolutely phenomenal. And the playing in it is really what, like, your voice is amazing, but that was your Estepario moment, where people watch his videos and they go, this guy's insane, he's a machine. That was your Estepario moment. Like, more people should check that out, because the stuff you're doing on guitar is incredible. But that then fast forwards to, we come to Not For Me.
Right.
From a guitar perspective, Not For Me is not a massively complex song, but it's exactly what it needs to be. It's sheer perfection in songwriting. It's a masterclass in songwriting. So how do you pull back? Because you're capable of playing, you know, insane things and burn the fretboard up, but you chose not to. As the songwriter, you pulled back and went, no, this song doesn't need all that. How do you get to that place? Because I know for myself, when I write, I feel like if I'm not struggling with this guitar part I wrote, it's not good, when that's not true.
Okay. it's again going back to my previous point. It's a learning process, man. Like big time. I'm definitely learning from this also. And it's funny because like this is something that El Estepario will get a lot. You know, it's like how can you restrain yourself and hold back so much? And we all know, like, people know what he's capable of. But it's kind of like we have to find a common ground when it comes to I guess just putting a song out there, something that could connect with more than just people that are looking for that technical flash. And so we worked hard to kind of to deliver that, especially with the first song. You know, we said it'd be something, you know, we'll try to get something down for everybody. And keeping in mind as well that, you know, we wanted to stay true to our own you know, what we love, our own taste in music as well. But it was kind of like that first song, it was like a really happy coincidence because it was written in very short space of time. I was in bed and it was maybe 2 or 3 a.m. and the melody was just going around in my head, and I said, I can't sleep. I can't get this out of my head. So I got up and I penned it down. You know, I started thinking pretty much in that space of time. I did the whole thing, and then we polished the lyrics, you know, and the structure as well. I had some help from my partners. She had some great insight on but yeah, and proofreading, you know, with my sister and my mother as well. You know, we were like, you know, oh, this is cool, this is maybe not so cool. So
yeah,
I don't know how I got talking about this, but yeah, basically it was something that we wanted to click with more than just you know, musicians, I guess. Yeah, just everybody, you know. So yeah, and I think it's important to keep that in mind. You know, we're it's the eternal search or quest for a hook. You know, something
sure.
that can be singable, and yeah, we're really happy with that. Absolutely.
Well, you keep nailing that because I showed the first song and I think it might have just been the first song, but I showed it to my girlfriend and kind of said, like, look, these guys, they're the next thing. Like, it's going to be big. And she went out and found Drone. And never in a million years would I didn't even show her that song because that won't be the song she'll dive into. And she come back and she said, have you heard their other song? And I said, well, of course I have. And she said, I love it. I can't get it out of my head. And then we get to Her Eyes with an icon on it, which has to be a monumental. How does Her Eyes come to be? I kind of think I know, but I'm going to let you tell it. But and
you
how
know,
do you tackle that challenge?
Well, thanks for asking about that song. Actually, it's definitely fresh out of the oven. But we've been working on that song for a long time. Actually, we have quite a lot of songs unreleased, you know, and a lot of things we're working. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, and working hard on the album. But with this particular tune, the whole, well, actually, most of the song, especially the vocal melody, was completely different before we learned about Serge's intention of collaborating. You know, before we knew that he wanted to do it. So it was a whole different tune. And we're still thinking about that, you know, and thinking maybe the song, you know, we can release it on a B-side or a bonus track or something sometime in the future. It's quite different. But we had, so the song, the theme of it, we were traveling to Germany, actually, myself and Estepario, and we were talking about it would be, I think I mentioned that I'd like to write about war in general, because it's such a present theme at the moment, you know, and I mean it always is, unfortunately. Yeah. But it was something that we both said straight away, you know, it makes sense, you know, let's go for it. And at the time, after a while, I think it was some time passed by, and Jorge suggested, wouldn't it be great if Serge could be involved in the song, you know, out of the blue, you know, it was completely out of the blue. And we kind of laughed it off. We said, yeah, it'd be awesome, you know.
Yeah, sometime. It would be awesome if he's on any song.
Absolutely. Kind of thing. It was pretty surreal. And a few weeks passed by, and Jorge got in touch with Serge, and yeah, basically we're here now. Serge straight away got back and he said he'd love to collaborate. He wrote plus the lyrics, and I wrote the verses. So it was a collaboration, an amazing collaboration. He had an idea of how, because we passed him all the stuff we had, the instrumental section of the song, and he just, like, within 24 hours he sent a lot of ideas, you know. Wow. And it was like, this melody and feels right, so let's work on this kind of thing. And we were like, you know, this is amazing. So yeah, that's kind of came about.
On first hearing that song, and after looking and seeing your background, Chris's background, I'd be remiss not to talk about Chris, because he's a phenomenal bass player, also a part of the jazz group, which is great, because there's a tightness between the guitar and bass playing on everything that y'all done that only happens through time. And so I have to mention Chris's amazing playing, but
yeah,
on Her Eyes, it felt like, oh, this is the song where they're going, this is what we can do. You know, that instrumental breakdown section in the middle, well, not really the breakdown, but where things start to, chaos seems to start happening. And then it comes out the back end of it, and suddenly El Estepario he's put us right back on beat. We're on the pulse and everything's calm. That's a technically hard thing to do. And in the studio, you can fake it, but you could hear in the song that, no, these guys aren't faking this, Chris. There's a bass line there. You know, it's not just effects. There's parts there. There's a guitar part there. These guys are being sneaky, but it's there.
Oh, man, yeah.
When you approach things like that in your writing, is that something that develops when you're writing the song, or do you go in going, you know, there's a section in this where I think that we should really play with time, and, you know, maybe change time signature, or are you letting the song kind of come to you as you're going through it?
So yeah, that's a very kind of clear of our collaboration. That breakdown, or that bridge section, and that's before Jorge, right, before Estepario, basically had an idea, and he said, let's change the whole thing up completely. And this was his idea. He said we're going to completely change this section, because he had this pattern in his head, which is a metric modulation. Right. He kept hearing that kind of syncopated 3/4, that bump, 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 bump. so he was hearing that as the original pulse of this next section. So that was building, that was preparing a whole kind of breakdown section where it's just chaos unveils, like you pointed out. So yeah, what happened there is he sent us a recording of himself of just a drum section where uh, uh, where I got to put basically just notes, right? So every kind of the bass drum pattern that he had in the whole section was matched by the notes that are sounding in the song anyway, and that's how that bridge came about. But once we had it recorded and had the idea down, we realized that, you know, that this is definitely what we have to do. So it was yeah, that he had, and we're delighted to have it in there. And it's technical. It's quite technical. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you can hear it.
It
you
felt
can
right.
hear. But nowadays, a lot of people would have faked that. They would have, you know, really dialed up the mix on the sound effects and some synth stuff. Yeah. They would have faked that through it. So it speaks to your musicianship to be willing to go that extra step and go, you know what? We need to play something here. We need to do something to make all this work better. And it shows the level that you guys are at. And it's a level that, as all aspiring musicians know, you know, you want your band to get to that level where you're thinking in those types of ways. So how long did it take for the band as a whole to get there, where Estepario could send you something like that and you work over it and understand what he was going for?
I I appreciate that, man. Well, it was kind of I think from the get-go, I mean, when we started thinking about this project, I know that Estepario was very much interested in maybe working with like people that had a jazz background, which myself and Chris,
yeah,
I think pretty much because of that, you know, it was like to kind of get into a really kind of chaotic section, which we could hopefully bring to a heavier kind of context, which is this project. So pretty much from the start of the you know, conception of the project, we had ideas to incorporate sections such as the last song, definitely, because we're kind of, yeah, we love that stuff as well, you know, and we do it a lot in the kind of the jazz project, more of an improvised, that's
right.
Also, it's all, it comes from a platform to kind of explore that to a much heavier kind of level as well, you know. So yeah, we're very aware of that stuff, and at the same time we catchy songs. We want to be careful with, you know, but yeah, it's nice to
the feedback seems to be super positive, as I would expect. What made you, coming from a jazz background, decide to go into, you know, to tune to A and, you know, come to metal? How do we make that jump?
I love it. To be honest, I've grown up a big heavy metal fan. A lot of prog stuff as well. I'm a massive Tool fan. Massive Mastodon. Saw all these guys when I was much younger as well. You know, I went to the concerts. Metallica was one of my first loves. You know,
sure.
I was a very obsessive listener of metal, as much as classical music, as much as jazz. Time basically, I was hungry for a lot of different kind of I never let go of that kind of metal side, you know. So it was just all the timing was perfect because I was you know, always looking for an outlet to kind of develop heavier ideas. And something that was kind of it didn't quite fit in a like a jazz prog project. To an extent it did, but it couldn't be fully developed the way it is with this project. So yeah,
I'm so glad. I'm so glad you made the jump back. Welcome back. No, you mentioned bands. It's funny because you're mentioning my teenage years, you know, and I probably 6 months ago had a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were talking about metal and the state of metal, and you know what we felt like was missing from. And I said, you know, no, we haven't had a good Deftones in a long time. Not saying a good Deftones record, but a band with that energy.
right.
You know, that Rage Against the Machine, that when they hit the stage, they're going to tear the place down. And some of it's catchy, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that energy and can pull this off. And then along comes the Cost, and I go, oh, well, these guys sound exactly like something 16-year-old me would have loved. I would have ate this up then. So especially now, you know, so having put out the first song and your introduction to the world, I know that there's going to be somebody that if I don't ask this, they're going to be upset if I don't, but clearly Estepario has almost 4 million subscribers or something. So your life changed overnight, correctly? And the Bentley's parked outside and the money just flows in now, right? As millions of people have seen your song. That's how this works, correct?
Almost there. Yeah, almost there. It's not, yeah, it's to be honest, I'm glad it's not exactly what you described because it would have been a bit too crazy, I think. Definitely the attention and the online presence of you know, our music creating you know, enough it has, and Estepario's platform. It's a big platform over that has been really nice, and you know, it's a big motivational factor to carry on producing music, creating, and you know, every week is like, you know, there's more things. We're you know, preparing live stuff for next year as well, which is going to be amazing. But you know, we're taking it one step at a time as well. You know, we're not rushing into anything crazy. We want to make sure that the material is solid when we put it out, and it's just been an absolute joy, to be honest, because you know, a lot of decent audience, you know, everyone, like individually, people, you know, pointing out things such as yourself as well that are you know, completely in line with what we wanted to kind of get across. So we're absolutely over the moon. Yeah, so it's been lovely. It's definitely been lovely. We just can't wait for more. You know,
you spoke of a lot of preparing stuff for live performances, but some people may have missed it. I don't know how you could have, but you just did a live performance for Minor Symbols, which I believe is a sponsor of Estepario, or
yes.
Just did a live performance, and it was flawless.
Thank you.
Dead on the money.
Yes,
so
that was a pretty special session, a studio live session, which is, you know, we had a great time recording. There will be actually two more recordings from that session. They'll be released throughout the summer, so we're looking forward to that as well. but yeah, I was kind of, I was referring to more the the live show,
Sure,
with
sure.
the audience. Now we did that live inside the studio with the engineers, everyone. But yeah, that was a lot of fun as well. Absolutely. Yeah.
So can we look forward to more songs this summer?
100%. Yes, you can look forward to more songs this month.
Yes, this just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're as happy as all of you guys as well. We're really overjoyed because there's a lot of, I think we're getting also, we're getting to know each other through the process of writing as well. So each time, we're kind of we're growing with I guess, our musical personalities as well. Knowing each other, and we're getting a bit more daring, or maybe slightly more liberated. I'm not sure if that's the word, but yeah, I think you know what I mean. It's getting better.
No,
I
got you for sure. Are you writing? Yeah. And this is something that this will be an interesting question, at least for me. Are you writing for an album? Because a lot of people would say now with social media, we don't writing for an album, complete album package isn't really useful anymore because it's about the singles. And are you working on material to do a complete cohesive album, or are you marketing this a different way?
The objective is to compile every song that we release into a full LP, an album. Absolutely. The method and the marketing kind of has been just release single after single, and then have that ready to go. And we definitely want to release it as an LP. But yeah, it's very different. It's a very different way. We're independent, so it's kind of like when we say, this is ready to go. Let's just put it out there, and yeah, every time the process, we go back, we put it out, and we go back to the drawing board.
Start again.
Put the next. Exactly, but yeah, our objective is definitely to have it compiled as an album.
I've heard, I think that's the right choice, and that's, who am I to give anybody advice? But I miss the days of a completed package, that you could put on and listen to start to finish. And I understand that the world has changed, and yes, you could write for singles and do just fine. I understand all that. But at a certain point for me, it's not about what's cost prohibitive. It's about the art and the package and presenting an idea. And it seems like you personally, as the song, as the lyricist in the group, which I'm glad to hear you bounce things off of people, but it seems like, especially with Her Eyes, you have something to say. And to not do it as an album with a complete package, I think would be a tragedy, because it seems like you have something on your mind that you're telling everybody, like you're getting them. And I say you as the lyricist, but of course the band, the band as a whole, you particularly, is when it comes to writing lyrics, is that an area where you do the music first, then come back and do lyrics, or?
That's great, man. I think we have, with the start of the whole thing, we said, it'd be nice to be able to tell a story, through the songs, and what better way than to, compile an album at the end of the whole process. And that's always been part of it. And we have that kind of like objective, I guess, to kind of work towards. We are like, finding new things along the way as well. We're learning to do things I guess in slightly different ways from where we started off, but it's still definitely there. You know, the goal to have the all of the tunes out as an album. And going back to your the question about lyrics, it kind of, yeah, for me it's been mainly the melodies and the chord progressions and everything that kind of forms part of a song, even if it's not like 100% gonna be that kind of melody that ends up bringing out the
Sure.
words in a way, you know.
Of course.
Yeah, it seems that I get carried away definitely more with and melody, organization of notes, you know, at the end of the day, and those same notes will end up saying, you know, maybe just bringing words to mind, you know. It could be
Sure.
gibberish at the start, eventually becomes like maybe a word painting kind of thing, but the message ends up, you know, the picture, the bigger picture ends up being slowly revealed, you know,
Sure.
through the actual melody. So it's a bit of a process, definitely, but I definitely rely on my ear more than I have done some lyric writing where it's just, you know, it's just all about the words themselves and then the music. But it's I always gravitate towards the other method.
Sure.
A lot more.
All right. I know you got to go, so I'm not going to hold. I'm going to give you one last question along the lines of songwriting, and then I'm going to let you get back to work because again, you're in the studio working right now, and
Yeah.
I'm so glad. When do you know a song is finished?
Oh, that's
I
that's
know
a good.
it's not a fair question. I know. That's why I asked it.
uh, oh, that that's a difficult one to answer. We'll listen to the song 100,000, a million times before we put it up. So it's never quite over for us. And then once we put it up, it's just like it's another listen. You
Yeah.
know, anytime somebody else is listening with us, you know, we're on that on a particular track. But yeah, I think we can be. It's difficult to kind of be 100% happy with a song. Let's just talk about just one particular song. Let's say you'll always think maybe I could have, you know, talked about this, or maybe I could have, you know, modified the melody a little bit on this part or something. You know, it can never be 100%. I think that'd be crazy if I was like, you know, this is it. But there's beauty in that as well. You know, there's like, okay, so it's not perfection, but it's something that, you know, that makes sense and that people are resonating with as well. You know, so that's a success in itself as well. So yeah, it's a hard.
Well, you know, we change as humans. And so it's always nice to revisit and see a song morph through the years. And, you know, what a song may mean to you today, 10 years from now, that meaning could be totally different. Or that melody could hit you in a different way that, you know, I never noticed this part, but that was really, you know, so it's good to know that you're staying open to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we kind of, you hit the nail on the head. It's an emotion. It's an emotional companion, I guess. You know, because you could be, you know, in any sort of you know, headspace or mental state where you could be like, this is, you know, I'm not I'm not connecting with this music whatsoever, you know, right now, you know, and maybe the next day you wake up in the morning and it's the most beautiful thing you've heard in your life. You say, what's going on? You know, that kind of thing. It can be pretty, mercurial in that sense.
Yeah,
But
we all go through that as musicians.
100, yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's yeah, it's a beautiful journey as well. So we have to try to make the most of it and try to separate our, you know, our kind of musician head, you know, or kind of thinking from the actual what the music is trying to say, you know. Yeah, yeah.
That's a great point, because it I know for myself, I find that when I know a song is finished is usually when my emotions are at peace with it, you know, and then I go, okay, now we can leave it alone for a while, you know, because like you, it's never done, and I may come back later, but for this particular thing, I'm at peace with this song right now. I think it's the way I usually put it. Like I'm good with this. Now I'm on to the next thing I have to say, whatever that may be. So
Yeah,
I think you put that perfectly.
absolutely. I think would be crazy to seek perfection, you know, in any piece of art or you know, in music, because I don't think it exists, you know.
No,
I don't think it exists. So it's nice to be, you know, content and at peace. That's a really nice word, actually. Just being at peace with whatever work or whatever song it may be, or piece of art you might be working on. But yeah, it's a nice process.
well, I'm so glad you took the time. I'm going to let you get back to that work so that you can make more great songs that I can then enjoy. This is all a selfish. I'm being completely selfish here because I just want to hear more. So, but I thank you so much for doing this. I really do. I don't know how many interviews you've done, and normally this isn't an interview channel; it's a guitar channel mostly. But I wanted to talk to you because I love the band and the work that you all are doing. And I also, for the viewers I have, a lot of them being newer viewers, I wanted them to hear from someone who is on a platform that's, you know, a larger platform and is doing top of the line work and has this educational background, and any box you could point at and you've checked them all. But at the same time, you're just through what we were talking about, they're hearing things as a new player that they may be feeling, such as, is this song done? Well, I don't know, and you don't know. Like, none of us know when it's done. So that's why I reached out. I wanted you on to have a discussion for beginners to see that this is a journey, and it's a long journey, and it's a constantly growing and learning pursuit, and they should stick with it.
Well, first of all, I'll extend or send a big hug to all your viewers, and I appreciate it very much, man. It's been a pleasure chatting to you, man.
Well,
and yeah,
the best to you and your family and your band. I wish you all nothing but success and good health, and we will most certainly talk again.
Right back at you, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely.
Have a great time in the studio.
Hear the new.
Thank you so much, my friend.
Very nice to meet you, David.
Nice to meet you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.